Welcome back, everybody, to the show that you guys have been waiting for a week. It is the A Show. I am Justin Davis. I'm back with my partner in crime, Jamil. What's going on?
What's up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing? It's been a wild 5 days in wrestling. Now it's about to be another wild 4 days in actual real life.
Yeah, I'm ready for Thanksgiving. I think Survivor Series put me in the mood. You know, the Thanksgiving Classic, of course.
Right.
I'm coming to terms with considering that this is the first time both my mom and my dad won't be here for Thanksgiving. I'm coming to terms that I'm probably going to have to make what I eat.
Where the fuck? Where'd they go?
My mom went on vacation, and my dad also went out of the country. So it's very, it is what it is. They picked the right time. I was very mad at the beginning, and then I just was like, I was very angry, and then I realized maybe that's kind of selfish, to be honest with you. But then I was also like, I'm kind of hungry. Like, I really don't like, having to do this thing, especially like, I don't know. I'm very wishy-washy with this. I'm coming to terms with it. I'm ready. Just chicken is thawing. It will be seasoned, and we will be moving on with this. I'm very happy. How do you plan on celebrating your Thanksgiving?
As you already know, I have no family members out here. So in California. So and you're in New York. We're on two opposite sides of the world, and we're both dealing with the same thing. I'm not making anything that I eat. But
sure.
I will be going to other people's houses that are making the things that I'm going to be eating. So that's like a tradition for me now, is being an orphan. You're an orphan too. You're an orphan too.
Yeah, but I'm not going to other people's houses. I don't feel comfortable yet. I don't feel comfortable doing the whole. I don't feel comfortable yet. It's a situation.
You can't eat everybody's greens? You can't eat everybody's greens?
I don't feel comfortable taking. I was like, let me try myself, and if it's whack, I'll bother other people. I'm not a cook by trade.
Oh boy. I seen a picture of you on your Instagram story a couple days ago. It looked like you had a war wound.
Oh my God, bro. This is terrible. I was making burgers, and don't ask me why I put oil in it. I put a little bit of oil in it just so, it doesn't stick to the pan and everything like that. I was rushing too much. I just decided I'm not going to thaw these burgers. I don't do the whole, I ground meat and paw in my hand. I just get frozen shit because I'm
Fair enough.
That's who I am.
Fair enough.
That's who I am. It's a nice turkey burger. It's not like the cheap, shitty kind. It's very it's a good turkey burger. I put it on. It was already frozen. Oil splashed all over my arm. I have a couple holes in my arm. And they're now starting to heal.
I am very afraid for where you live at, because if that is any indication, then their Thanksgiving is going to be very, very tragic.
I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. Sure. I've made food before. I've definitely made
that's
food.
Famous last word. Famous last words is I've made food before.
I've made food before. I've meal prepped before. This should be just like meal prepping on at least 10. A 10.
All right. I hope that you're safe, and I hope everybody else listening is going to be safe this week. But before we get to that and your Thanksgiving festivities, this will actually be coming out the day after, so you'll probably be full from all your Thanksgiving stuff, and you'll finally get our rundown of the past week in wrestling. It's actually a slow down week here, where we actually get a break from having so many shows and shit like that. So we're gonna start off.
Even though we literally had 4 shows this week.
4 shows in a row this week. But we'll start off with our No Holds Barred segment, where we'll actually be going over the weekend shows. But before we get to that, there's a new report that came out today that we'll start off with today, about Finn Balor and his current status on the main roster. I don't know if anyone's seen this report, but it's come out on...
I have not seen this report. I was like, you gave it to me in the rundown, and I was just like, huh? What?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing it now. I'm running through it now. Shout out to the good people at You know,
ESPN.
I don't know. They don't pay us. I'm not gonna say which website.
ESPN. It was ESPN. And allegedly, contrary to basically a lot of reports saying that it was going to happen, Finn Balor isn't going to have a match in January at Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar. It was originally supposed to happen around this time, around TLC time, where he was going to face Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. A lot of plans have changed, and apparently we have a little bit more context as to why this week. Allegedly, they see him as a new age Dolph Ziggler, where he'll have a great series of matches, but no reward atop the card or faith from the office. A source close to the person who wrote this says that WWE creative relayed that Vince McMahon sees Balor as bland when he's not portraying the demon character, and they need to put some life into his character. They also say that he is visibly showing a lack of confidence, and they're very adverse to putting him with, say, Luke Gallows or Carl Anderson. And there are not a lot of options for Finn at the top of the card in the next couple of months. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if I believe it entirely. I'll be honest with you.
I don't either. I'm like 60. I'm 60-40 on that, honestly.
As thorough as it is, very thorough. Like, it's a news report. There's like comparisons and like contrary statements and all this other stuff. I'm just breezing through this real quickly. This is my first time seeing this. I don't necessarily think I believe it, just because I feel like on one half I could see it, because Finn Balor, compared to most people on the roster that they tend to like, it's a very smaller guy. And Vince isn't, but he has a big personality. Well, he has a big persona, at least, a big presence that he can bring to the main roster. But I don't know. I just can't see that he's just being held back.
I see it sometimes. I think they're stop and start with him more than anything, and I think you probably noticed that too.
Yeah.
They'll give him a big win. They'll give him a big win, then they'll take it away like the night after. And to me, it feels more like a test than them actually thinking that or actually thinking he's in a doghouse or trying to punish him or anything like that. I think his injury really set him back more than a lot of people really want to admit.
Yeah, I think initially the injury, it was kind of a hard reset, and it wasn't just an injury of just like, hey, he's going to be out a couple weeks. He was out a number of months right after he debuted. So they're already trying to figure out what they're going to do with him, and then he's out. So he's essentially out of plans. He's out of the priority. He's not really doing much of anything. When he came back, they didn't have anything for him. He came back, he was well ready to come back a month before Mania, which I guess should be a sign as well, because I feel like if he was ready for Mania, they would have put him on Mania in some sort of capacity, but they opted not to. Be like, we don't have any plans for you, when I think they could have essentially either threw him in the Battle Royal or, something along those lines. And then shown up, because I mean, if you remember on that card, the Hardy Boys just appeared. I mean, Finn Balor could have made the same appearance. 100%. He could have been on that card. I think they're definitely not using him to his full potential, and they're definitely holding back on him. They're definitely like, okay, we're not sure what we can get totally, or what necessarily we can do with him. Yeah.
And if you remember a conversation that we had a couple episodes ago where I actually argued that he was like the number 2 face on the show next to Braun Strowman, and I mean, I really still believe that. I think his positioning in Survivor Series, which we'll get to in a second, proves that.
I think he's number 2, but he's still a distant number 2. It's a very distant. You can see from how they've been doing Braun and everything like that, it's still a very distant number 2, but it's still number 2 nonetheless. But I could easily see someone moving up. And that's if they're not really doing much with him. Like he's been in this feud with Bray Wyatt, which was just, I feel like, just a placeholder. It's like, hey, let's do something with him. Oh, let's put Bray Wyatt. He's a monster. He's a demon. This is, the Eater of Worlds. It'll be great. It'll at least do that, and then that sort of fell through.
Bray kills everybody. Bray kills everyone. There's no feud that Bray Wyatt will ever be in where someone will come out looking good, whether they win or lose, and he loses all of his feuds. Like it's almost like feuding with Al Snow. Well, actually, Al Snow's more over than fucking Bray. Like, I have no comparison to this guy where someone will completely kill you if you do a program with them. Like, it's set Finn back almost 3 to 4 months at this point.
Now, at this point, do you think maybe he has a better shot if he, something along those lines? Is that
if he does what?
Into your mind at all?
If he does what?
If he turns heel.
A lot of people are trying to say pull the trigger on the heel turn. I know that worked for people. Like, it worked for like Edge. It worked for CM Punk. I don't know if Finn is a great enough talker to carry a heel role. Like, you got to be a good talker and a good worker to be a heel.
But I think we've seen people in the past sort of rise to the occasion. I think that was previously known of AJ Styles as like great worker, talking. He gets from A to B, but he's not a talker that can hold his own. Right. And I think that heel turn he came in on, or at least he turned to during the John Cena thing, really helped him cultivate. Same with Daniel Bryan, when he won the World Championship and became a heel, he learned how to sort of be able to speak in front of people and get people to hate him. Maybe that's the sort of experience. I tend to think it's worked a lot with people in the past. I don't know if we immediately want to jump to it, but it's at least an option. To me, it's something to look into.
Well, if they want to do that, they should start sowing the seeds now. I think Raw is a very top-heavy show with heels. I think someone's going to have to flip really soon. But as I've been saying, I think 2018 is a make-or-break year for Finn Balor. He'll be coming up on his first WrestleMania. It'll be his first Royal Rumble. It'll be his first for a lot of things, and I think that at this point it'll be 2 years coming up next summer. So something needs to happen, and I hope that it does happen. But that story just broke today, and Finn Balor already responded on Twitter. He posted a couple pictures. One of the pictures basically disputing that he was over with the fans, showing a picture of him with the fans doing his arm gesture on his entrance, and another one with him with Roman Reigns in like a shoulder lock, saying "I'm over," or it's saying Balor Club forever, but he had the words OVER capitalized. So, yeah, he reacted. He definitely reacted. So we'll see. Maybe that's him saying the rumors are bullshit, and maybe we should just wait and see. But we're going to get into last week's shows. You got a chance to watch everything, right?
Of course, I watched everything live. I didn't watch anything again. I'll tell you that. But we're going to go through everything live.
We're just going to do stray thoughts from all these shows. First up, we're going to go with NXT TakeOver, which happened on Saturday. A spectacular show. I think it was slightly better than Survivor Series for the weekend. What was your standouts from NXT TakeOver?
No doubt it had to be Velveteen Dream versus Aleister Black. Now, I talked last week in my predictions that I expected a lot of theatrics in this match just because I didn't know where Velveteen was at in terms of his progression in the ring. So I imagined that both are fairly large characters. We'd see a fair amount of theatrics, and we did, especially in the beginning of the match. But, man, I didn't know that Velveteen would pull that out in that sort of moment. I know they've been working with each other, but I know he's a huge wrestling fan, but I didn't think he had that in him.
Yeah, just from the entrances alone, again and again, I say like Aleister Black has one of the best entrances in the whole company. I don't think I'll ever get old. That'll ever get old for me seeing it. But I called it right before he came out that Velveteen would pull off the cover of his tights and he'd have Aleister Black's face on it. So like when he finally did it, I popped huge because I was like, this is something that naturally had to happen. I didn't know the Rick Rude thing would go further than that. He actually did the Rude Awakening. He did all of Rick Rude's taunts. He did a lot of stuff. But I think what was biggest to me was the callbacks to the actual story. You had them both doing the Aleister Black sit, and then you had Aleister Black do Velveteen Dreams crawl on the ring, and then you had the rope tie up spot, and then you had a lot of the things that called back to how this whole thing started, and I thought that was tremendous.
I think the match itself puts Velveteen in another class, because this could have easily been sort of something that was this could have easily been something that would end up similar to Adam Rose, where he could have just been a gimmick and not really something that was sort of major. This said, like, hey, he can hold himself in the ring. This is what, like, elevated Triple H from Paul Levesque to Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
Just being able to go in the ring and being able to hold it down and show that sort of intensity in the ring, that you're not just a character or you're not just a gimmick, you're just a full package.
Right.
So it was a good showing for Velveteen Dream.
I think that more than that, and I mean, we're clearly gushing over this match. It's clearly that was my match of the weekend. I think it edged out AJ and Brock for me. I think more than that, this isn't a take away from Aleister Black at all. He is a star. I think he's next. He's definitely out of there as soon as possible. But just the fact that these two played so well off of each other, it put them, like you said, in another tier. Definitely Velveteen Dream. He's title bound in 2018. I don't think there's any question about that.
We'll have to wait and see.
I don't think there's a question about that. How did you feel about the War Games match? Actually, before we get to that, let's get to the women's match and Ember Moon finally winning the belt. How did you feel about that?
I wasn't particularly thrilled. I think I really expected Peyton Royce.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I understand. I think what they do with the women's belt is give it to the person who they believe deserves it the most, which is, it's a strategy of booking your company. It's like, hey, the person who deserves it definitely should get it, and I think she's worked hard. This felt more to me very delayed in terms of just like, it felt like I think I would have appreciated Peyton Royce winning it and then Ember Moon winning it after, because it didn't have the thrill of the chase that it had with Ember Moon over the summer or over the spring with Asuka. And to me, at least, when Asuka presented her the belt, I know that was supposed to be sort of a passing of the torch, but it felt more kind of like it was too much that Asuka was there and knowing that she could not beat Asuka, and Asuka pretty much handing over the belt, saying like, hey, this is yours now. Sorry you couldn't beat me, but now you finally got it, right? By beating...
I thought that part was awful. I thought that the booking of that is even worse, where it's like she couldn't get the belt at any time when Asuka was there. In fact, none of these women could. But as soon as she left, that's when you get the belt. And I think, like, it's a shoo-in for when Ember goes up to the main roster. Like, that feud with Asuka, that's going to be something that they pencil in immediately when she gets there. And I think, but like she's intricately mixed and she's intricately tied to Asuka forever, whether she wants to be or not, because of that feud.
I don't know. I don't see big plans for Ember Moon on the main roster, just to be honest with you. She could probably develop as a character and that things could change, but as of right now, I don't see what she could contribute to the main roster except as a solid worker. I don't see them doing. I don't know. Maybe
she has to develop a character. She has to develop, because the thing is, like, you and I, and we had this argument 3 or 4 times. We just had it this morning. We see a lot with Peyton Royce and Billie Kay.
Yeah.
Like, they could go very far. They're heels. They can talk. They can wrestle. They're really good hands in the ring. They've developed their characters in a way that Ember Moon hasn't. In which case, like, Ember Moon has gone from like vampire werewolf to anime person that wears color contacts all the time. Like, she has no character whatsoever.
Right, and I think when she gets into the ring with someone with noticeably more character, a Peyton Royce, a Bianca Belair,
it'll make her look bad.
She's going to get booed.
Yep, she's going to look really bad. So I mean, we'll see. I think Peyton is the natural feud for her coming out of this, going into Philadelphia in January. So we'll see what happens and how she can develop that with, I guess, a heel chasing it. I have no clue what they're doing with Kairi Sane. I'm imagining they're going to hold that off until New Orleans.
We'll see.
I
have no idea in terms of Kairi Sane. I don't know. The women's division in NXT is so fresh. They've hit the hard reset by calling up everybody this week. We'll talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that part later.
So I feel like we're gonna get a lot of Mae Young Classic females now in contention for this belt as well.
And I can't wait. I mean, obviously you'll have your Abby Lace, you'll have your Bianca Belair. Obviously Mercedes Martinez has already debuted on the main NXT show, so we'll be seeing a lot more people coming up. The NXT title match, just real quickly, what'd you feel about that?
A pleasant surprise. I was very surprised that they actually gave it to him, because I always felt that I didn't felt like Almas was a true challenger. I thought he was a transitional challenger.
No one did. No one thought he was going to win that on Saturday. Nobody.
But then again, I never felt like Drew McIntyre was a true champion either.
Right.
It was kind of weird. Because I always felt like, especially when Adam Cole came in, it's just like it's only a matter of time. And I never felt, it's not that Drew McIntyre didn't deserve it, but I think he doesn't need to be in NXT. I think it's cool for him. It's a good story, but in terms of just like being someone as like an opposition to the Undisputed Era, I think he's huge and probably could demolish them. In terms of just like size, it looks pretty. Large faces, they're going to get chopped down eventually. I think he should be on the main roster,
and I think that's
think so.
I think that's what was planned. I mean, obviously the title loss was obviously planned. His injury was not, and he was injured at the end of the match. He had a bicep injury that was confirmed. We don't know how long he will be out. Which sucks, obviously, because he is a tremendous talent. I liked his in-ring stuff. I didn't really like a lot of
his in-ring stuff.
His in-ring stuff in NXT was really, really good. Didn't really like his character in NXT. I think if they do bring him up, I think you might have said this, they need to make him a heel, like just going up, period. I think him and Roman would tear the house down.
He's got a very small head.
What?
I don't know. That's just it's like a lot of hair, very small head, huge just body, and I don't know. The proportions are weird. But yes, I do believe him and Roman could probably tear the house down.
And then going into the War Games match, you kind of had like a kind of weird reaction to that when I asked earlier, but I thought it was a really good match. It was really, really long. I'll probably never go back and watch that again. It's for a match that just had the War Games title in name only and not even in the rules. I thought that it did a really good job of separating itself and making the NXT version its own thing.
I agree that it definitely made NXT version its own thing, which I think it should do. I think it's a new era. We shouldn't totally replicate it. The rules then aren't the same rules that they did now. The people are different. The pacing is different. The storytelling is a little bit different. I didn't like how long this match really went. And
you knew it was going to be at least 40 minutes. You had to know it was going to be 40 minutes.
The rules, and that it was just... I felt in terms of how the match was plotted out, there wasn't a lot of pinfalls going in the match, which blows my mind considering it's like a one-fall match. And it's like anybody can win at any time. And at some point, like, I'd say probably for like 60% of the match, all of the competitors were in one ring all at the same time, and the other ring was just to the side and no one in there, or someone resting, or fucking Alexander Wolf getting his head, plastered back together, or something along those lines. But I felt like it wasn't a seamless match. I don't think it told a story in terms of Undisputed Era, and I guess it put those characters over, but I don't think it fully told the story of like the real, like... Well,
it told the story of Roddy too. Roddy and Cole obviously was the story of that match, with Killian Dane being the only story that Sanity really had. I think Killian Dane and Roddy were my two MVPs. I think obviously this was a match to put Cole over, and it did. I think it finally defined a character that since he debuted in August, I've been trying to figure out what it was, and the role is clearly what it really was in his ROH days, as being the really slimy shit heel that kind of runs away all the time, and that's what he did for most of the match. He was at the top of the cage for I want to say 5 minutes before he was finally brought down. And then there was one spot that I really liked, that I feel like Shawn Michaels or somebody might have had their hands on, when they do a Tower of Doom on 2 different rings, and then Adam Cole is in the middle and he just has this shit-eating grin and he's just like laughing like, I did it. I outsmarted everybody, while he lets his homeboys get their asses beat for 40 minutes. And then he finally picks up the win at the end by giving Eric Young a Shining Wizard. And then he sells like he's been hurt. Like he's been wrestling with everyone for the past 40 minutes. And I thought that was a great touch. And the commentary actually sold Adam Cole really well, as far as saying, Adam Cole is the guy who we thought he was. We thought this is the guy. He is a star. Then they started kind of selling it around the last 5 minutes. And I think this is really just a showcase to show him that he is going to be if Almas is the top heel in the show, Adam Cole is like the 1B right now, and those are the two top heels right there.
I think it was a very creative match, and I'll give it to all 9 competitors in that match. It was very creative with the spots, with everything. The pacing just kind of threw everything off. Just the fact that it went so long with very few pinfalls, very few near falls, very few people, just like very segmented interaction between people. It's like, oh, here are these 2 spots now, and now we're going to do these spots, and now transition to these spots. And the transitions were they weren't seamless. They were just like, okay, we're doing this spot now, and now we have to do this spot, and now we have to do this spot. It was kind of, that's what took away from the match for me. I felt like everything was a little bit too clustery. Everything was too complicated. I went in with no expectations. I wasn't really completely sold on this War Games match. I think they should I think less is more with this match. Maybe next time they do it, they should sort of scale it back.
It's impossible. It's impossible to do that. I mean, you can't have less teams. This is just the way that it works. And it's impossible for you to make the match shorter because from the outset, the match doesn't start to the 15-minute mark, period. And they tried to cut as much as they could by giving it 3-minute intervals, and it still I still think they got it down to where the last 15 minutes was just completely chaotic when Sanity got into the ring. But I do agree that they can do something with the storytelling to tell more sides of a story, because I think they're going to bring this back next year for sure. But
go ahead.
But
that was my thoughts on the match.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it did what it was supposed to do. And I think coming out of this, I know a lot of people are thinking that it will be Cole and Almas coming out of it. I'm not a big fan of the heel versus heel thing. I don't think NXT will do that. I think they're going to wrap up Cole and Roddy and finally give Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish the tag titles in Philly. And I think that Almas and bear with me, because I think the only way I see for this to happen, or it's not the only way, but the only thing that I see for this person is the title, and I think it's going to be Almas and Aleister Black.
I see that. I can 100% see that. So if they decide, hey, we're going to go in on this Philly pay-per-view, or is it Philly?
It's Philly.
Royal Rumble, yeah, we're going to this Philly pay-per-view with 2 huge main events. I can 100% see that.
And I think
Roddy and Cole is a good blood feud.
Yeah, I think you put them in a gimmick like a Philly street fight or something like that for those two at TakeOver. And then, and this might be controversial too, I think you have Almas beat Black in the streak.
Yeah, I think it's time. Or at least I'm not a fan of freaks in the WWE anyway. Unless you're Asuka. Asuka's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of streaks either. I think Asuka's streak is a part of her character at this point, and that's why no one else should have a streak, in my opinion. And I think that people are missing the fact that Almas actually beat Drew's, he was the first person to ever beat Drew and beat his undefeated streak. I think you play into the fact, which they've actually started mentioning, that Aleister Black is undefeated. You play into that fact, and you play into the fact that Almas is the guy who can beat guys that haven't been beaten. So you do that.
Especially with Zelina Vega in his corner.
Oh, she's great.
It was essentially turned his character around. Like the fact that, he was opening TakeOver Brooklyn and now he's like the champion in less than 3 months?
Yep.
It's like you have that factor going to it as well.
Yep. And I think that's really where you go with TakeOver. I would be excited for that show. I think that's a stacked show as it is. I think NXT is really going up in 2018. And as we go into Survivor Series, which is longer than the recap that we had for TakeOver just now, 4 or 5 hour show. What did you feel about Survivor Series? What did you feel about it as a whole? I honestly think that this was a show that started off, to me, really, really strong. And then the 15 minutes completely fucked everything. The show to me was on pace to beat TakeOver, and then they just fucked it all up.
There's so much. I mean, they made me hate this type of thing. I would love interpromotional matches, but they made me hate this. One, just because of that scoreboard. It was so. It made
the scoreboard that they never announced until the night of the show.
Yeah, that we're keeping score. So now it's like, oh, we're gonna definitely tie, or it just makes one brand look way worse going out than it should be. They should just be matches, standalone matches. Of course, you can reference that, hey, we've won more matches, but I don't think it's something that you like. We're blaringly like, we're 3 for 3, we're in overtime, like, and now it's a Survivor Series match, and they'll decide who wins. Then you have to put certain matches in certain orders, and all this other stuff.
And then we'll get to that, and we'll get to that when we get to Raw and SmackDown for this week, because the scoreboard essentially didn't mean shit. Like less than 24 hours later. What did you feel about the ending? I know a lot of people hated it. I think it was pretty much unanimous on pretty much every newsletter and wrestling podcast that I listened to, that it was a unanimously hated finish for Survivor Series. And I'll agree.
Pretty bad.
It was a bad finish. In case I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now, Triple H'd, and he pretty much ruined the ending of Survivor Series. It's crazy how someone who has done so much good on his own promotion could fuck up another promotion so badly.
He wasn't. I don't think him and Kurt Angle was needed in this match. I think you could have accomplished the same thing whether one of them was out the match, even with Shane McMahon. But I'm not sure what the long story is for Shane McMahon in terms of, is this part of the story of him getting his sort of comeuppance, or at least getting told, like, you know, hey, this is what you did.
We'll get to that on SmackDown. We'll get to that on SmackDown, because they started building that on SmackDown.
Overall, the end, it was so.
It was confusing. I've never seen a crowd completely go silent like they did on Sunday. They went completely silent when Triple H turned on Kurt.
We lost all the up and comers, which was wild.
They looked like idiots. Hey, they looked like fucking idiots.
We got down. The final people who ended up on the SmackDown team were Shane McMahon, John Cena, and Randy Orton, which I think could have gone on a good run. But John Cena was eliminated by Kurt Angle for some reason. Like, Randy Orton was eliminated. With help
from in the doghouse, Finn Balor. He had help from the guy that's in the doghouse, by the way.
Randy Orton was eliminated by, who was he eliminated by?
He was eliminated by Braun Strowman. It was Braun, yeah.
And then Kurt Angle is eliminated due to Triple H, which made no sense. So Triple H does this like he's feigning turning on Kurt Angle to help Shane, which makes no sense, because this is exactly what we were against. Like his wife is completely against this, so he feigns turning on him and then turns back on Kurt just so he can get him out the match, and then turns back on Shane, and it's just like, what are we doing? Just so he can win the match, so he can have the glory of winning the match. But what is the point of winning this match? Like, what was the point of winning it?
It was to set up
his job. His job is still intact.
It was to set up Triple H as the new hot heel that we're going to be building matches against Braun Strowman and Kurt Angle and fucking Jason Jordan and everybody on Raw. That was what it was setting up everything as.
It makes me wonder, because, or at least makes me wonder simply because we have these sort of interbrand struggles between general manager and commissioner. We have it on Raw with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and Kurt Angle, and then we have on SmackDown with the disagreements between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. But you know who's the subsidiary character in all? Like Kurt Angle, and it's just all confusing. The fact that I'm like, it's just all confusing. I want to hone back in. It sucked. It just sucked.
It does suck.
Everything just sucked.
I think I think there were great matches. I think New Day, the more I dwell on it and I watched it again, I think New Day and Shield was a really good match. It's probably my top 3 of the night. I thought Charlotte and Alexa, I'm higher on that than I was the night of also, because I think I was just tired after that match started, when that match started of the show, period.
I think Charlotte and Alexa it was weirdly very brutal.
Yeah.
And it was a good back and forth match. No one thought it would be a back and forth match, but I think it put Alexa Bliss in a different light, and it was very, very brutal. I like how they did it. I like how they slowed it down, and they made it really intense. Out of all probably the the Raw versus SmackDown matches, as good as the tag team match was, I probably favor this more because it seemed like both of them really, really, really wanted it. Like they were beating the mess out of each other.
And then, I mean, speaking of beating the mess out of each other, AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar, which I don't think anybody will disagree is one of the best matches of the weekend and could be one of the best matches in the last couple of months. Who did you think that AJ was going to pull this out of Brock?
Yes, depending on... I think Brock Lesnar has a respect for AJ Styles, or at least Paul Heyman has a respect for AJ Styles, which just goes through Brock Lesnar. But I think, Brock Lesnar, former New Japan, right? New Japan champion, or IWGP.
IWGP, there you go. What a new.
And I'm so Japanese. Oh my god. But they're both champions in Japan. They're both world champions in the United States. They're both 40 years old. They both have like a certain amount of respect for one another. I think it was a really good back and forth. I'm glad Brock Lesnar was so giving to AJ Styles because he didn't have to.
Super giving. And then
he
like
really didn't have to.
When you think about the first 5 minutes of that match, I thought it was going to be a complete wash. I was like, oh man, this is Cena Lesnar all over again. And then AJ starts to come back, and it's like Brock let AJ put him in the calf crusher. He took his finisher a lot of times. Brock was made to look kind of, weak, not weak, but he was made to look like he, was taking all this offense, and that the AJ had actually hurt him. And I think I think AJ's more over now than he has been
100%.
since. He's so over now. He just listening to the reaction he got on fucking SmackDown on Tuesday. He is over.
100%.
He's over as hell. And I think we called this a week ago, where it's like you don't drop the title to someone else when you know that AJ is going to come back after that match on Sunday as the most over person on SmackDown. And I think he's finally achieved that. Like, AJ is the guy now on SmackDown, and I think that that's what they achieved more than anything. I mean, the guy had Brock Lesnar limping back to the locker room and selling for him, and he doesn't do that for anybody.
It's usually open and shut case for him, but this was a really, really good match. I advise everyone to go back and watch it. It's really, really good back and forth. AJ Styles finds his opening. He sticks with it. He manages to daze the champion. He takes advantage of all of that. He gets, he squirms out of certain, finishes, and then, he tries to put him away. But of course, Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. And, that's the end of the match. And while it seems simple on paper, it was really, really well executed.
Yep, I completely agree. I think that and Velveteen and Black were my favorite matches of the weekend. But we're going to go right into Raw. We're going to go into straight thoughts from Raw. My first point is, and I guess I'll start off on this, where the hell are they going with the Triple H thing? The beginning of the show, they had Triple H come out. He said nothing for 15 minutes. And they had 3 people come out and challenge him to matches. And then he disappeared for the rest of the show. Kurt Angle comes out and says he'll beat his ass. Jason Jordan comes out and says he'll beat his ass. And then Braun Strowman comes out and says he'll beat his ass. Triple H is not going to be on the show every single week. He just finessed all of us.
He's going to be on again.
I don't think he's going to be on again. He's not. He's not going to be on
during football season and come back after.
He's not going to be back until January, which we already know. We full well know, and it looks like they're setting up for either Triple H and Braun or Angle at Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania, which hurts both of those guys, honestly. I don't think Triple H is taking 2 losses, so I think he'll probably split the 2, and he'll probably either beat Kurt and then lose to Braun at Mania, and then Braun will be stuck and lost in purgatory like Seth Rollins was this year, and then that'll fucking hurt him. Like, Triple H programs are kind of like Bray Wyatt programs. They don't help anybody. I'm wondering what the fuck they were thinking with this.
There's gonna reach a point in that Triple H program, especially if he has one with Braun Strowman, where he completely emasculates Braun Strowman.
Yep.
That's sledgehammer shots. He's bleeding. He's over. He's injured. He's on the ground. He can't wake up, and it's just like, but just remember, I'm Triple H. I'm the King of Kings. I'm the cerebral assassin. He's got to always do that. That's kind of what happened on Sunday night of Survivor Series. I have no idea where this Triple H thing is going. I don't necessarily like it. I have not been paying attention to it too much because it didn't live outside of the show, outside of the top of the show.
Yeah.
Now, now Kane is back for whatever reason, which I completely forgot. In 1 week, I forgot that he was put through a ring.
I wish he stayed there, but like you said, like Triple H and Stephanie only showed up for that first 15 minutes, did not come back, did not show up again. But I will say that I agree with you. I dislike it. I guess we'll have to see what happens on Monday. I do not foresee Triple H being there. I do foresee Stephanie being there. However, they have a very long time to go before Royal Rumble, and they have a lot of matches.
To get their comeuppance. It just needs to be known that they're going to get their comeuppance.
That's not going to happen.
Really, what
it's not going to happen.
But it's like you book them as such. They're strong authority figures. There's nothing that can hinder them until Vince McMahon comes out. That's really the final law. He was like, okay, he's law. Like if Kurt Angle and Stephanie McMahon were somehow on the same level, I get it. A co-GM, something along those lines, co-commissioner instead of general manager and commissioner. But you really have nothing that can stop him. Kurt Angle can't really do anything unless he quits. So we'll see how that goes.
But speaking of people who did come back and who did appear and had a lot to say this week, Paige returned on Raw, and she brought two friends with her. Those friends were Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville from NXT.
I thought it was a very awkward entrance, by the way, because she just came out during the middle of a match.
Yeah.
And I was like, this could have been staged a little bit better.
I think they should have done it before the match started. That would have been way crazier if they did it before the match actually started.
Right, or at least have her attack during the match or something. I don't know. She just came out and started talking, and I was like, what is she on about? I'm glad she's back, but it's like, you're interrupting a match and not really doing I don't get the point.
That's really small because she got the craziest pop of the weekend, I think, to me.
100%. I mean, Paige is back. I think everyone was anticipating Paige for Sunday.
Yeah,
I think everyone was anticipating her for SmackDown too.
Yeah, and I mean, this made more sense than that. Way more sense. The three girls, Paige, that being Paige, Mandy, and Sonya, went down and beat the living shit out of Sasha Banks, Bayley. I think Mickie James got some, and Alicia Fox ran away. And this was during a match that would determine who would be going against Alexa Bliss next. Really good beatdown angle. We'll get to what happens on SmackDown later. Really effective though. I think everyone coming out of the match, everybody's talking about that and another thing that we're going to get to in just a second. But how did you feel about, or what do you feel about the women's division with Paige back in it? Where do you think this leaves Sasha and Bayley, and Asuka and everybody else?
I feel like as much as stale as it was, which the reports are saying that they were called up because Vince McMahon felt both divisions were stale, which was 100% right. But they also don't use even half of the women at the same time if there's a one-on-one feud going on. So bringing in more, I'm not really sure if I see the complete point behind that, even though I think Paige, Mandy, and Sonya are one entity. So maybe they'll work together, and but bringing Paige onto the roster, I think it just improves the roster immensely. She's huge. She's a former Divas champion. She has yet to become women's champion. She came back in a dominating fashion. She has two subordinates who can take all the
brunt of all of the comebacks. I think
it opens the door for something that can happen later.
It opens the door for more programs and more programs that have less to do with just the title revolving around it. I think just the natural feud out of this is Paige and Alexa and Sonya and Mandy versus Sasha and Bayley. Poor those two though. I poor those two. Poor Sasha and Bayley. They've already been pretty much fucking replaced. I don't blame them.
We've been waiting for a very long time. I want to say for almost a year for a Sasha Banks turn, and it has not happened yet. Are you still in favor of that turn, or are you just like you're cool with where she's at right now? She's kind of just she's
coasting.
She's coasting. She's like, I'm popular. I know it. I don't really have to do much besides win and show up. I don't know. Sasha Banks is her best as a bad person. She's not her best as a face to me. Even though she's doing well. She's doing enough. But she's doing well. I'll give her. She's doing well.
I don't think she's doing enough. I don't think she's doing enough at all. I think as a babyface, her promos are awful. I think that as a babyface, her offense has stagnated since. I am all in favor of a turn as long as it makes sense. I think naturally coming out of this, you're going to want to flip Alexa pretty soon. I think that's definitely going to happen with Paige being the new top heel in that faction. I don't know where Nia fits in. I don't know if you flip her, but you're going to have to flip a couple people now to make room for Sasha being a heel, just because of her presence as a heel should be a big deal.
I think Alexa's going to be the one who turns face. I don't know. It's weird because I've been noticing she's lost a bit of, I don't know if this is this correlates with essentially what she is, but I realize she's lost a little bit of weight. And she's just lighter, and usually when people turn heels, they tend to bulk up a little bit, and then when people, be faces, they turn lighter. Maybe that's a Chris Jericho.
I mean, it's for offense, because she stopped doing a lot of the flippy shit, right. And I think obviously you're right. She would have to do that in order to. Yeah,
she's a little bit leaner. This is not a big thing to notice, but she's definitely a little bit leaner.
She's leaner.
Survivor Series.
But you also got to notice that she's on the downturn, and that could be part of the story too, of her basically losing a lot. She's been losing a lot, and she lost to Charlotte, and that's the part of the downturn. I think she's ripe for Paige to beat her at Royal Rumble. I think that's a natural progression, and I think you bring Asuka up. I think because honestly, Asuka is, other than Survivor Series, she's in her own world. I think you give her a feud against maybe Nia for the next couple of months, and then
Nia's 100% the next one. It's obvious she's going through people who she has history with, just because they're comfortable in the ring and they want to essentially show her pretty well. So I think an Asuka Nia Jax feud, that's probably for Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and then coming out of that, you take them right to Mania with Paige. I think Paige versus Asuka is money. I think that's a money match right there.
I think it's a good match. I don't know money.
How about you don't have Paige lose?
Intense match.
How about you don't have Paige lose until then, and then you have two streaks against each other, and then you have Asuka win. And then you have it be she hasn't lost since she came back. Asuka hasn't lost since she's debuted. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
I think that'd be a great.
But you also came up with a concept. What if Asuka loses? What if Paige is the person? What if this becomes the NWO thing where Mandy shows up with
a taser,
and just takes down Asuka and ruins her entire life?
I'm not mad at it. I as soon as she showed up, I called it. I looked at it. I saw it. I said she's gonna be the one to be Asuka, and I don't think that it'd be a bad thing.
I don't think it'll be a bad thing either.
I think the last huge thing on Raw that happened, your boy lost the Intercontinental Championship to Roman Reigns, who is now a Grand Slam champion. I have no clue how they even considered that, but that happened. Well, how do you feel about that?
He won the U.S. IC. It's a new Grand Slam. It's like you got to win the world. You got to win both secondary championships and a tag team championship.
Wait, did Roman win the Universal? Roman won the Universal, right?
He won the WWE.
But he's never been Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. So shout out to the philanthropy of The Miz, just doing what's giving. He's so giving, especially when he's like, "Hey, I'm going to do a movie. I don't need the belt this time." Last time they had him do the movie, he kept the belt. He was like, "You know what? Let's do what's best for the company. I know Roman needs to rub right now. Let's hand him over the belt. It makes him look good."
Miz is on a sort of a downturn as well, don't you think?
Yeah, but he always takes breaks at the right time. Like there's always a movie or something.
Yeah.
Like there's always a movie, there's always a show, there's always something. He always takes breaks at a certain time.
And I believe they just announced I think they announced the new Marine today, I think.
Yeah, he's in the new Marine. That will also feature Shawn Michaels and Becky Lynch. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, wow.
But this Marine 6, so he's good on that. He's been all over the press as of late because he's promoting the new Champs vs. Stars on MTV. He's on the Champs vs. Stars every week. So
what a
he's
star.
Really one of the
He's
one of the most hardest working people in the WWE. Is like,
all right, we could go a whole hour on this. I just don't want to talk about the Miz anymore. I will say this: he takes
a break at the right time. I'll say it was a good main event, though.
Do you think he gets the rematch before or after Royal Rumble? I don't know when that starts shooting, but I think they purposely gave Roman the belt to keep him out of the Royal Rumble or to keep him from winning it this year.
If it's straight to DVD, I couldn't imagine them filming for more than 6 weeks, just for the budget of the actual thing. So I think he'll be back by Royal Rumble.
All right,
maybe a special surprise entrant.
Well, I mean, I think the rematch is going to happen at the Rumble. That's why I think they're going to keep. That's why I think they're going to keep Roman away from the Rumble this year.
What could you see anyone? This is the opportunity where they took it off the Miz and you're able to give the rub to someone else. Could you see anyone else holding the Intercontinental Championship
and beating Roman? Finn. Finn could do it realistically. Joe could do it realistically. I think those are my top two choices because those are the next guys down from Miz. But do you agree that you think that giving him the title gives him like another month and a half, 2 months, so that he doesn't have to be the focal point of the show and that they can start building this Brock match without him winning the Royal Rumble?
I honestly think maybe they get. Wouldn't it be crazy if it was Universal Champion versus Intercontinental Champion?
That'd be the stupidest thing I've ever seen. They don't even need the Universal belt.
That's 100% true.
Brock doesn't have an opponent at Royal Rumble. Also, by the way.
Yeah, I think it would make Roman look strong.
Oh my God.
Make Roman look strong. Listen, flashback to the Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan match at WrestleMania. Flashback to the Seth Rollins versus John Cena match, the amazing match at SummerSlam a few years ago.
Seth didn't need that either. Seth didn't need that either. I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going that direction. I think this is a misdirection because they want Roman to have that last title, and I think they do want to give somebody a rub. And I think it might be one of those guys that we said, and I think that they also want to. I think we both agree that SmackDown is winning the Rumble again, right? They always win. They always win, and we won't have that. We won't have that fuckery of last year where Randy forfeited his Rumble. Like that whole shit. That's not happening this year.
This is weird because I don't have Rumble or the related NXT in like my peripheral right now. Like I don't have it there because I don't know what's going on.
It's Mania season.
But everything is so stupid though. Like nothing is making sense. So it's throwing me off. It's like, what can they do? Like, I'm hopeful. Let's get to SmackDown.
Okay. All right. Well, SmackDown happened, and I think I've been wanting to get to this for a second. What? Shane McMahon's bewildering opening promo. Also, what the fuck was the point of Survivor Series? Shane comes out and he basically says, at Survivor Series, we proved that we aren't the B show. We proved that we are the show. On Raw, Kurt Angle says, SmackDown proved that they're not the B show. But we proved that we are the show. What the fuck was the point of Survivor Series?
I don't know. I think both writing teams don't watch each other's shows because literally the same thing happened.
Yeah,
it was a pretty similar opening promo. I would like to see more between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. I don't know why Shane McMahon when Shane McMahon left in the middle of the night, I thought there was chicanery going on, and never have I seen a grown man putting one book bag arm over his shoulder make it look so uncool. But
why did he leave? Why did he leave?
I don't know. He picked up his bag off screen, he just picked up a bag. I was like, where did he get that? He just picked up a bag and left. He was like, I'm like, you're running the show. Where are you going?
And it's not like SmackDown doesn't have a pay-per-view in 3 weeks. Like they can progress. They can progress the storyline.
45 minutes from over.
Yeah, it doesn't.
He booked a match and he said, you know what, I'm out of here.
I will say that the ongoing storyline with Bryan and Shane is probably the most compelling storyline, next to the one with KO and Sammy. Do you think a Bryan heel turn is in the works? I think it's coming up because, and it's just weird how these shows mirror each other. When the heel authority figure shows up, that's when SmackDown needs to get a heel authority figure. I don't want to turn Bryan. I don't think they should.
I can see Shane McMahon being, I think the negligence of Shane McMahon with Survivor Series and everything leads to him being sort of forced off the show. And it leaves Daniel Bryan in charge, and he sort of wants to change everything. And then, I don't know, some reason Shane McMahon comes back. So I could see it leading to a Daniel Bryan turn. Not so blatantly.
Right.
Very more subtle. I don't think we've had any sort of long strokes in this thing yet. All we've had is talk. Like, we need to talk about this decision you make. I don't support this decision you make. Something along those lines. But nothing has really occurred where it's just like, you're wrong. Daniel Bryan hasn't come out vocally against Shane. So I don't know what's really going on. I think we could see a heel turn. I could also see
Well, I mean,
something of the similar happen. There has to be some change in power, at least.
We're going. I mean, to that effect.
I think
to that effect, we had more call-ups from the women's division on SmackDown, and this will lead back into Bryan after we get through this part. But Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan. This is the most controversial call-up of the week, I must say. I think from anything that happened, this is the most controversial topic, bar none. This week, they appeared and they pretty much did the same exact thing that Paige and her group did on Raw, which was beat up the whole women's division. They beat up Charlotte. They beat up Natalya. They beat the fuck out of Becky. They beat up Naomi. They just took them all out, and they made their presence known. Exact same thing. I think this really took away from this took away from how important the Paige return was to me.
Did they? The quick side note: did they send Becky to Marine? To the Marine?
Yeah, they wrote her off.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, they wrote her off. I looked at it as that when I saw it this morning. They wrote her off.
I think, yeah, it was kind of silly. I don't know. I don't want to argue about who was called up. I feel like I think a lot of people, we argue about who was called up. I would have preferred Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, but I understand why they weren't called up. Nonetheless, I think I need to see the motivations of these three, because NXT...
These six, hold on, these six, because they did the exact same thing on Raw.
I need to see the motivation, because NXT, you could see it with Raw and Paige and Mandy Rose and Sonya, just because Tough Enough. I guess Paige can sort of use that. I have no idea what Liv, besides NXT, what Liv, Ruby, and Sarah Logan have sort of what common link they have. I don't know what brings them together. I don't know what makes them a team. Is it just the NXT, banner? Is it just... But what really, especially all three of them who were faces before and now they're turned heel, what really drives them together? It kind of looks... It looks as makeshift as it is. But I'm interested. I'm at least interested.
I think they, and again, we're not arguing this. Me and you have been through this personally and group chat publicly. I honestly don't. I really don't care who it is. I don't care who gets called up. I don't care who it is. I will agree on your end that there were better choices. There was a better choice rather, but that would have only carried one show. And they can't be on both shows, and they needed all those guys more than Raw. SmackDown needed these girls more than anybody.
SmackDown definitely needs them.
They needed these girls. I don't think Raw really needed anybody but Paige. Maybe I would have said Mandy Rose because she's been in development for so long. But right after that, after their debut, Daniel Bryan gets asked, "Did you know?" Basically something to the effect of, "What are your thoughts about the NXT women?" And he says, "No comment." Where is this leading?
A revolution, maybe.
No clue.
I hope it's a revolution. I don't know. The booking has been so spotty. It could end up being a Shane McMahon idea. I have no idea. But
I don't know where it's going. I hope next week it gets clarified a little bit more. It's actually the only storyline I care about.
To be clear, can they just have a week where things make sense? Obviously, we've watched a prior week, and we have a story that we're sticking to. I think they have a broad story they're sticking to, but they don't have it figured it out. The ending of SmackDown was so weird because it said, hey, you know what? You know what's going to happen next week? And instead of something big, it's like Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. I'm like, you didn't need to do that at the end of SmackDown.
And the main event of SmackDown was a lumberjack match between Sami Zayn and KO. And let me side note here, Sami Zayn is fucking tremendous as a heel so far. I think he's been doing great every week against the New Day for, I guess, punishment for them running in and trying to disrupt Survivor Series. Again, I ask, why the fuck would anyone who was not in that match give a shit about what Sami and KO did?
I have no idea. Blue loyalty.
Why did Bobby Roode care? He was eliminated already before they even came out. Not only that, their run-in didn't work. No one got eliminated because of that run-in.
I don't know.
It was ridiculous. But yes, as you said, they teased all show that Sami and KO were supposed to be fired at the end. They don't get fired. Of course, I mean, obviously, I think we all expected there to be some fuckery going on. There was no fuckery. They were not fired, and then we're going into next week with the only one and not two announced matches, and we're going to get to that second one in just a second. But the first one is
shout out to Randy Orton getting the night off.
Shout out to Randy Orton saying, "Fuck this shit."
Reason.
He said, "Fuck this shit. I'm going home. It's Thanksgiving. I'm a star, bruh. I'm not doing it." But what are your quick thoughts on Bludgeon Brothers? I'm whatever on them. I don't care.
I'm really whatever. I really don't give a shit.
All right.
Be honest.
All right. Next,
I don't give a shit about Bludgeon Brothers.
Next point is AJ, and this will be our last point on SmackDown. AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal was confirmed for Clash of Champions. I think we called this weeks ago that this was going to happen. We just didn't expect that AJ would have the title now. He comes out and cuts a really good promo. The Singh brothers attack him. Jinder fumbles a promo for about 1 minute before he gets to his point. What do you think about this? Like, I'm nervous. I don't know why I should be nervous because I don't think it's going to happen. They're keeping this belt on AJ, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I say all directions point to them doing that. Just giving them the belt, that performance against Brock Lesnar, them changing essentially the show because it was originally Jinder versus AJ Styles supposed to be this week on SmackDown.
Yeah.
They've changed the show, so now it's at Clash of Champions, which may have been to give AJ Styles rest, pretty much.
From getting that ass beat.
You're right. So I think it's a solid. I think AJ Styles is pretty much keeping it. I'm not sold on the Jinder. I think they've pulled back on Jinder a lot. He's not even a focal point of any show.
A whole lot. And again, I completely forgot that he was going to show up on SmackDown, of course. And he shows up, and I'm like, can we just get to the next guy for AJ? Like, I'm so, like, I'm done with this program. I'm done with any Jinder program at this point.
I think he would be a great secondary heel.
He'd be awesome. He'd be awesome.
You put him in the main event sometimes, but I think generally just the stage is too high of a stage for him, and he's not up to it. But I think, like, people were accurately like, oh, he fits in this U.S. title scene. Like, he should be U.S. champion. Like, it would make sense completely if he was U.S. champion.
It'd be great. I think he'd be a dope U.S. champion. It looks like from the ending of SmackDown, the next feud we get for that is Bobby Roode and Baron Corbin until the AJ Jinder program is done. But I think that
I don't even like that.
I think that Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal would be a really boring little feud that takes up time on SmackDown. That'd be great. Just take the title off Baron, though, please. Just get it to Jinder as fast as possible.
I think, yeah,
it's gonna happen.
I think so.
It's gonna happen.
I don't know, the way both shows are to me have just been sort of confusing, and I think the Survivor Series really derailed everything. In terms of what matters and what doesn't matter. I think the Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn story went completely off the rails because of Survivor Series, because it makes Shane McMahon look bad. And it added friction to Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, and who knows if they'll actually follow up on that friction. I think it just ruined so many things. The Usos, we're not sure if they're heels or faces. They're heels on SmackDown, but they're essentially faces at Survivor Series. Yeah. So we're not fully sure what goes on.
I think they're faces. I think they're faces. They wouldn't have done a WWE shop commercial if they were like any serious, like, big time tag team heels. I think they're setting up Bludgeon Brothers and Shelton and Gable to be those guys.
I don't know.
They showed respect to they had a little YouTube exclusive where New Day and the Usos at the backstage of Survivor Series they were like chummy. They were friends. So I don't think that the Usos
New
are.
Day, right.
Yeah, they're not heels anymore. Not for sure. They're not heels anymore. But that was SmackDown. That was Raw. That was a long 4 or 5 days of shows. In all, do you think that Survivor Series weekend was a success for the WWE?
No. Success financially, maybe. Success and just
not even financially. Like, TakeOver wasn't sold out.
Oh yeah, it definitely wasn't. I think. I just think.
I'd say it was. If you judge it on the sum of its parts, I think as a whole,
a few more weeks.
there was more good on the weekend than there was bad. The thing is, the bad was just so big that it almost overshadows what was good about it. I think Survivor Series has some really good matches.
Most of the show.
I don't think most of Survivor Series was bad. The main show.
No, the bad is like it in terms of leaking out onto the Raw and SmackDown. It was most of that show. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense. I'm willing to give them a couple weeks to see if they get back on track and they sort of realign everything, because I think Survivor Series just threw everything out of whack. So I'm hoping that they'll eventually like get back on track with everything. I know AJ Styles, Jinder Mahal, they're back on track with that. The women's match is a little bit more up in the air. We're probably going to get a tag team match at Clash. Well, I don't know. Clash of Champions, every championship has to be on the line, so we'll probably get, I don't know, Charlotte versus Natalya.
Yeah, we're getting Charlotte and Natty again. Also weird, no Carmella on the show. Also on Tuesday.
I don't know what they think with Carmella.
Ever since she lost Ellsworth, she's been coming out to literal crickets. No one cares.
I don't know what they think.
She's back to where she was. She's back to where she was before she had Ellsworth, and that's very spooky, especially for someone who's supposed to be winning the title. And that's even weirder. That's even weirder too, because you have all these women come in, then you're about to have a heel champion with heel factions that are in the brand. I don't know. It'll make sense. I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense.
It'll all make sense.
But that was a full week. So. Mills is saying he doesn't think it was a success. I think if you look at it from the sum of its parts, I think Survivor Series weekend was a success. But I do know what will be successful. That is always our show, The A Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Mills, for joining me. I really hope you don't burn your house down.
Oh my God. I don't even know. I don't know what to think anymore. Like, everything kind of stinks. All right, so wait. Can we talk about just 2 points, just 2 quick points?
2 points. 2 quick. Go ahead. I have all the time in the world.
2 quick points. Hideo Itami's debuting.
Oh shit! I don't watch 205 Live, so yeah, you're right. He is.
I 100% don't either. But Hideo Itami's debuting, and he's debuting on 205 Live. Probably a year ago, he might have gotten, if he didn't get injured, he would have been on the main roster.
For sure.
But now he's going to be on 205 Live. I don't know if this is, I feel like this boxes in his full potential. Like, Hideo,
what was his full potential, Mills, that you saw in NXT? I think he's had one good NXT match.
But I feel like it's not like he can't have good matches though.
I don't think, the thing is, a lot of the reasons why I don't think very highly of him are out of his control. He got passed over. That's all. I think 205 is perfect for him. He's not the same guy.
You're probably right.
He's not the same Kenta. He's not the same Kenta that he was in Noah. He wasn't the same guy when he got to NXT. As soon as he got there, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think we can all agree that he was probably going to get that title before he got injured the first time.
But maybe the main roster works for him in that he gets more reps. I feel like everything in NXT has been very stop and start and stop and go.
But that's not because of him.
I know. I 100% agree. It's because of himself. It's been the injuries, but everything has been sort of stop and start. Whereas if he has full momentum at his side, maybe it works in his favor that he's consistently having these good matches. He consistently builds a rapport with the crowd. He consistently goes out and starts killing it, and then maybe people see him in a different light. I think he's had an unfortunate NXT run in terms of just like on and off. He's never had a consistent run. So who knows what this might bring for him?
Well, I won't write out that he could be there when the title and goes to the main roster. We'll have to see. His deal is up pretty soon, so I think they looked at this as we have to do something with him before it's over. And we'll see. I think it's great. Have him be the one to beat Enzo, and then bring up some more people to 205 Live and let some of those other dorks go.
What if he doesn't beat Enzo?
I think he will.
And then the other one was, have you heard that Money in the Bank is a co-branded pay-per-view now?
Yes, the new pay-per-view schedule came out a couple of hours ago. There are now 5 co-branded pay-per-views, and Money in the Bank is one of them. I, for one, think that is a great idea.
The Big 5 now. I think it's a good idea. I think.
Well, they have a women. I think that makes the whole show a bunch of ladder matches, though, which kind of scares me, because there will be a women's ladder match and there's going to be men's ladder matches.
I think they're going to do interpromotional Money in the Bank.
Oh, you're right.
I think that's what we're going for. like
That'd
an
be tight.
interpromotional Money in the Bank. There's one bank winner. Win on either show. Maybe he shows up on Raw, or maybe he's just like, you can defend it on either. You can win it on either show, whichever one you show up to. If you decide to drive into SmackDown one day, or stay for Raw or something along those lines after pay-per-view.
Now, I don't think they'll make it that complicated, but I do think they will do.
Or maybe just like for your respective brand, here you go.
Yeah, I think they will do that.
I like the other one though.
That's definitely interesting. I think that they this shows how important they choose Money in the Bank, or how important they view it as, rather. And
right.
I mean, it is an important
thing. I think
thing.
It's a good summer show. I think we needed one, because between WrestleMania and SummerSlam is so long, and so much stuff that doesn't matter. Happens. Is so much filler that we sort of needed one, because now it's a good, like, okay, middle of the summer or kicking off of the summer, we have a hot pay-per-view, and you even add an extra NXT takeover to that weekend.
Oh, it's in Chicago for sure. They're gonna get an NXT Chicago too.
And then what's strange about this new schedule is that SmackDown has less pay-per-views than Raw. So Raw is getting 5 pay-per-views, and SmackDown is only getting 4. And Raw gets a pay-per-view before SummerSlam and after SummerSlam, and SmackDown does not have a pay-per-view
until Hell in a Cell.
Between the months of March, between May 27th and September 30th.
Oh my God.
So there's no... It's really bad. It's terrible for SmackDown, honestly. Unless they start doing like really big SmackDown shows.
I think you have to do the big SmackDown shows, like a Great American Bash, or like a Fall Brawl or something like that. Like, start bringing some of these WCW names back. Like,
yeah, maybe a little Cyber Sunday action. Who knows? Cyber
Tuesday. Taboo Tuesday.
Taboo Tuesday. Let's bring back Taboo Tuesday. Let's have one of those.
Fuck that. Let's bring back Great Balls of Fire. Like, what? Why do they let that one go?
You know why?
No, I don't.
No, it was actually a great pay-per-view.
That was a great pay-per-view.
It was a great pay-per-view. The name though, like, really?
Didn't what was on that show? It was Braun and
Samoa Joe
and Brock, which is a good match.
Braun Strowman, I want to say,
and Roman.
Is that the one where Braun
ambulance
Strowman died?
Yeah, it's the ambulance match, I think.
Yes. We had. What happened on the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view?
There was another really good match
of the year.
There was another really good match. I think Dean was involved in something on that.
Let's see. I'm looking at it now. We had Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins. Big Cass versus Enzo Amore. That's where it all started.
Yep.
Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardy Boys in a 30-minute Iron Man.
That was weird.
Oh, we had Sasha Banks versus Alexa Bliss, which was a really good match before they got counted out.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was really good. We had Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, ambulance match. We had The Miz versus Dean Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar versus Paul Heyman.
Really solid show.
So I think it was it was a really solid show.
Actually, what
R.I.P. Great balls.
What is your picks for or your show rather? Since it's going to be a long weekend for everybody, what's your show of the week or your match of the week?
Match of the week, random match. Let's see what I can pull out my brain. I watched so many matches over. All right. Do you have one? Because I gotta think.
I tell everybody to just go back and watch Takeover from last weekend, and also watch Survivor Series 2003.
Ooh, what happened on 2003?
Not 3. Was it 3 or was it 2? Or was it 2? I think it's Survivor Series 2002. That's the one with the Elimination Chamber. It's 2002.
Yes, 2002.
Yeah, watch Survivor Series 2002.
Listen to that Bruce Pritchard podcast.
And I've been listening to that too, and I've been watching it along with listening to it, and that's a great fucking pay-per-view. Watch that.
I want to say, all right, I want to pick something with women, because I feel like we've got a lot of women that came up this week.
There's a great women's match on Survivor Series 2002.
Oh, right, there is one. I don't want to pick that one. You picked the entire show. You picked the entire show. I want to pick. I'm going to pick. Shit, I don't know what I'm going to pick. Let's go with. Gosh, fuck. I'm sorry.
You don't even know.
You
don't even know.
I want to. trying to pick. Do I want to do Attitude Era? I think I want to do Attitude Era. There was a really hot match between. All right, so this doesn't. This is really the first women's main event on Raw history, but they don't count it because The Rock and Triple H were all up in the match. So there's Stephanie McMahon versus Lita. It's on Raw in 2000, where Lita wins the women's championship for the first time, and everything goes right in this match, but none of it's for the women. Everyone's popping for Triple H. The Rock is the special guest referee. I think Lita was very, very much over. So that's what I'm going to give it to. I'm going to say Lita was so over in this match. And I think it was during a time where Lita was pretty much the most over person in Team Extreme.
More than Jeff? I don't know about that. I'll argue with you.
More than Jeff.
I'll
Listen,
argue.
people went up for Lita, bro. This is August 21st. It's the Raw before SummerSlam. Where Lita versus Stephanie McMahon with The Rock as the referee, and then eventually led to that triple threat match between The Rock, Kurt Angle, and Triple H. So, you know, I'm a mark for The Rock. So
yeah, I don't get that, but yeah,
I could pick another one.
No, it's fine. It's completely fine. You should pick a show.
Sure?
You should pick a show.
A whole show?
It's a long weekend.
Oh my god. All right. I got this. If I'm gonna pick a show, I'm gonna pick an arbitrary Raw. Okay.
Go ahead.
Don't laugh at me for this. All right. So it's the last Raw of 2003. It features in the main event. Shawn Michaels challenging Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship, and it has that cool finish where the referee gets bumped out. So Eric Bischoff comes in as the referee, and he counts down. Shawn Michaels, I'm spoiling the entire match.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels super kicks Triple H and then lays on top of him, and Eric Bischoff counts it and then awards it to Triple H because both of their shoulders were down at the same time. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great match. Go back and watch it anyway. It's a fantastic main event to the end of 2003. I feel like it ruined everyone's match of the year for 2003 because it literally came December 29th. But you don't watch it, you get some holiday cheer. I don't know.
All right, there you go. There goes our picks for match of the week, show of the week. Again, this is
sorry for being so over the place with it, but I'm someone who picks off a whim. I pick off a feeling and emotion. I don't pick off.
I do it too, and I do it with way less thought.
I'm very these picks matter to me. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, shut up.
I'm trying to pick something that not everybody like. Like, I could pick the obvious, oh my God, let's do Bayley versus Sasha at Brooklyn.
Yeah, you're gonna, but you point us to a Stephanie fucking McMahon match. All right.
Stephanie McMahon another great Stephanie McMahon match. No Way Out 2001 versus Trish Stratus. Fantastic match. Don't sleep on it.
There you go. Now you got 3 middling 2 to 3 star matches. There you go, guys.
No Way Out 2001 too. That had Triple H versus Stone Cold in the
3 stages of hell.
Which I didn't think that was all that good.
One of the weirdest. I didn't think it's that good either. And one of the weirdest matches ever because it's like Stone Cold was like, okay, you can beat me now, but you got to beat me by mistake, and then I'm just gonna go get the belt anyway. Fuck you.
I think it's so weird.
We gotta talk about Austin's run at the top. I think Austin might be worse than Triple H at the top.
Can we do that next week?
We can do that next week for sure. I want to talk about how Austin really fucking held a lot of people down, and no one believes it.
Let's do that next week.
We'll do that next week.
I'm in full support of next week.
We'll do that next. We'll talk about Steve Austin's run at the top. And my conspiracy theory, and I assume that Mills agrees with me as well. So I'll pull up some matches and shit like that. That kind of proves what I'm saying. But
I'll do research for this too.
We'll compare notes.
We'll go full something to wrestle with on this.
Yeah, we'll compare notes. I'll hit up Conrad. He follows me on Twitter. I'll hit up Conrad and see if he can validate some of this shit and have Bruce Pritchard basically tell us to fuck off like Dave Meltzer. But thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you guys next week. For the A Show, I'm signing off. Meals, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening again. We'll be back next week.
Peace.
Stay tuned.